All right, so we're going to look at applications of percent today. So let's start. Marcus buys a varsity jacket from a clothing store in Arlington. The price of the jacket is $80 and the sales tax is 8%. What is the total cost of the jacket? Keep in mind that sales tax is an example of a markup because you're paying more. So we can set up two expressions here. We'll say that the jacket is represented by the variable J, and we can do the amount of the jacket plus 8% of the jacket because the sales tax is 8%. Or we could say 1.08 J. Either one of those will give us the correct answer. All we have to do is replace J with 80. And do some quick calculations. And we see that the final cost of this jacket with sales tax is $86.40. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try the your turn one example. Okay, let's recap this example. Sharon wants to buy a shirt that it costs $20. The sales tax is 5%. How much is the sales tax and what is the total cost for the shirt? So in this case, we want to know what is the exact value of the sales tax and then what is the total cost for the shirt. So two expressions we could have here, and we can use P for the price of the shirt. I don't want to use S because S might look like a 5 and you don't want to misread that. So P plus 5% of P, or 1.05 P. Now, if we want to know just the amount of sales tax, we are going to use, remember, this part of the expression. That's just going to tell us the amount of markup, or the amount of sales tax in this case. So 0.05 times 20 gives us 1. So the sales tax amount is 1, which we can add to 20, or you could do the 1.05 times 20, and you'll get an answer of 21. Okay. You've got some new vocabulary here on interest. I'll let you read that on your own, but we're going to take a look at something called simple interest. And the important formula here is going to be I equals PRT. You do need to memorize that formula. So let's look at an example. Terry deposits $200 into a bank account that earns 3% simple interest per year. What is the total amount in the account after 2 years? So we are looking for the amount of interest here so that we can add it to the original price of we're looking for the amount of interest that we can add to the $200 that he deposits into the account. So using the formula, interest equals principal times rate times time, PRT. Principal is what he starts with. He starts with $200. Rate is the percent as a decimal. So he earns 3%. And the time is in years. So we have 2 years here. And if we just multiply all that together, 200 times 0.03 times 2, that gives us an interest of $12. And because it's asking what is the total amount in the account after 2 years, we just want to do 200 plus 12 to get a total value of $212. We want to write an expression that we can use to find the total amount in Terry's account. And what we can do here is we can start with basically the principal plus the interest. And in this case, it was 200 plus 12. Let's go to the next page and go ahead and pause the video here and try an example on your own. Okay, let's take a look at this. Ariane borrows $400 on a 4-year loan. She is charged 5% simple interest per year. How much interest does she charge for the 4 years? What is the total amount she has to pay back? All right, so she borrows $400. That's the principal. It's what we start with. It's on a 4-year loan. That is the time. And we have a 5% interest. That's our rate. So let's find the amount of interest first. So it's principal, 400, times the rate as a decimal, so 5%, times the 4 years. And if we multiply all that together, 400 times 0.05 times 4, that gives you a total amount of interest of $80. So that is how much interest she is charged for the 4 years. Now, what is the total amount that she has to pay back? She has to pay back the interest plus the principal. So the principal plus the interest in this case is 400 plus 80. So she has to pay back $480 in the end. Now let's look at what happens when we use multiple percents in a problem. The Maxwell family goes out for dinner, and the price of the meal is $60. The sales tax on the meal is 7%, and they also want to leave a 15% tip. What is the total cost of the meal? So not only do we have what we start with, we are marking up with a 7% sales tax and a 15% tip. We're going to do this in steps. We're not going to do this all in one step. So think about an expression we could write to find the amount after sales tax. The amount after tax. Okay, that's going to be the price of the dinner plus 7% of dinner, or 1.7 times T. See, the amount that they're going to pay with just the sales tax is 60 plus 7% of 60, which comes out to $64.20. Now the Maxwell family wants to leave a 15% tip. So let's look at the amount after the tip. That's the price, the new price of the dinner. So let's use, say N for the new price of the dinner, plus 15% of that. Or you could look at 1.15 N. So we're looking at $64.20 plus 15% of $64.20. That comes out to a total cost of $73.83. That is our final answer here, the total cost. Okay, so to recap, we went in steps. We followed the order of the problem. We started with the $60. We added the 7% tip to get that answer. That was $64.20. Then we added the 15% tip. So don't try to add the percents together. Don't try to multiply this by 22%. We're not adding those percents together. It is a successive amount of percentages being added on. All right, pause the video here, try the last example, and replay when you're ready. Samuel orders 4 DVDs from an online music store. Each DVD costs $9.99. He has a 20% discount code, and sales tax is 6.75%. What is the total cost of his order? So we have starting cost of 4 DVDs that are $9.99. So first we have to figure out how much those DVDs are. So $9.99 times 4. Those DVDs base cost will be $39.96. That's before tax, that's before the discount. Well, now he has a discount of 20%. So let's find the discounted price. So we can use the variable D again for DVDs, And we are subtracting here because it's a discount. We're subtracting 20% of the cost of the DVDs. Or we can look at this as 80% of the cost of the DVDs. So $39.96 minus 20% of $39.96 gives us $31, and if we round to the nearest cent, 97 cents. You get 0.968 in your calculator, just round that to the nearest cent. Okay, now we want to deal with the sales tax. The sales tax is a markup. So we want to add the cost of the tax in. So we have the new price of the DVDs plus 0.0675%, 6.75% of the new cost. Or we can look at this as 1.0675 of the new cost. So we have $31.97 plus 0.0675 times $31.97. And that gives you an answer of $34.13. So again, to recap, we started by finding the final cost of the DVDs before we had to include the discount and the sales tax. So Samuel bought 4 DVDs at $9.99 each. That's $39.96. Then we found the amount after the discount. Because it's a 20% discount, we are taking away 20%. And remember, if you're not paying 20%, you're paying 80%. From there, we found an answer, $31.97. That is the amount after the discount. And we used that to find a tax, or the new price after the tax, of 6.75%. 6.75% as a decimal was 0.0675. We multiplied that by the $31.97 that we got up here in the discount, and that gave us our final answer when we added it to the $31.97 of $34.13.